If you went back 10 years and told me that Aquaman was going to be the coolest dude in a Justice League movie, I would have laughed in your face. Justice League. Released in November of 2017 with a runtime of 1 hour and 59 minutes, directed by Zack Snyder and then Joss Whedon as well. Starring Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, Jeremy Irons, and Ciarán Hinds. With a production budget of $300 million, a domestic take of $229 million, a foreign take of $428 million, giving a worldwide total of $657 million, and a profit of $357 million worldwide. Let's hold it there and talk about those numbers for a second. Now, $357 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is. And a overall takings of $657 million is quite a lot. I mean, that's huge. That is a lot of money for almost any movie. Almost any movie. But for a major tentpole, big event comic book movie, 657's kind of a little below average. More to the point, this is the Justice League. This is the Justice League. This should have been one of the highest grossing movies ever. This has a massive fan base, an enormous following, and some of the most iconic comic book characters of all time. And it only made $657. Ah! Oh! I bent the toenail back. So, back to characters. I'm going to have to go ahead and make some assumptions here. I'm going to have to assume that people already know these characters. Otherwise, I'm never going to get through this review. Started off with Superman. You know him. You love him. He's the Man of Steel. And in this movie, I think this is my favorite version of the new Henry Cavill Superman. He's the closest representation to the Superman that I grew up with the other movies and the TV shows and the cartoons. They also get to showcase his power set quite nicely in this movie. The best showcase we've seen so far for this iteration of Superman. That brings up a point. Iterations of characters. There are so many different versions of so many of these characters that it's really hard to land on one. So comparing them all to the previous versions is gonna be painful. So I'm gonna try not to do that unless it's a key point. Now for Batman. Bit more controversial. Some people love the Batfleck. Others aren't so keen. I personally really enjoy Ben Affleck as Batman, but as a tired, older, broken, worn out, worn down version of this iconic and very cool character. My biggest complaint about this Batman is he didn't get to do a lot. I mean, he was very Batman-y, but we didn't have all the gadgets. We didn't have him doing too much super science or extreme detective work or any of the other aspects of the Batman. But then again, as he says in this movie, he's old. He really can't do this anymore. So in that respect, it kind of makes sense. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Loved her. Wonder Woman is just an amazing character. One of my absolute favorite characters of all time. And I'm really enjoying what they're doing with her on the big screen. Her presence, her style, her charisma is just excellent. This is a slightly different Wonder Woman from her actually standalone movie. There's directional changes here. There's a slightly different personality type, slightly different attitude and outlook. Not a big difference, but I did notice it. Still one of the best performances and best presented characters in this movie. The Flash. Okay. Straight up, I prefer the TV version. No, minimize the comparisons. Is it a good representation of Flash? Yes. A very young, inexperienced Flash, yes. Yes, early stage Flash, then yes, it's pretty good. Cyborg. What's he doing in this movie? Seriously, why do we have him and not Hal Jordan? Why is the Green Lantern absent and we got Tin Man? I don't understand. That said, he's nowhere near as bad as I thought he was gonna be. And they do manage to mold him into the rest of the movie very nicely. So it may not make sense to me, but it certainly doesn't hurt the team to have him there. Aquaman. What happened there? How is he one of the coolest guys on the team? When did Aquaman ever be cool? He's the butt of every joke up until this point. Until Jason Momoa gets hold of it and turns him into the Bromoa Man. He was a fairly surprisingly strong character. Every now and then you're wondering why he's here though. I mean, particularly the final fight, he's nowhere near any sort of body of water. He doesn't get to use any of his extra cool water-based abilities, but at least he's there. I mean, he holds his own. He goes quite well. So, yeah, much to my surprise, Aquaman was cool. Lois Lane and the ever-present, always loyal Alfred, they were here, and they were very Lois Lane and very Alfred. Alfred's always excellent. They always pick Alfred really well. Lois Lane's here as well. She was a backup safety plan for Superman. That's about it. She's a bit of filler. Gives a bit of exposition. Not really here for much at all. Then the big bad, the ultimate villain for this Justice League, Steppenwolf. And the internet said, who? And took digging to find out who he is. And I don't care. I really don't know much about him from the comics. He's never been that big a deal, from what I understand. I mean, I think he's the forerunner for the big bad, the mighty and all-powerful Darkseid. However, Steppenwolf? Really? That's your villain? Wonder Woman soloed Ares, okay? He felt like an overdramatic afterthought. He really did. I was quite underwhelmed with this dude. Okay, so overall for characters, they were everywhere from acceptable to excellent versions of their comic book counterparts. I'm reluctant to say that they're all good, because honestly they weren't all good. The big three, though, were pretty much on point. How they presented versus what I know of them, what I know they could have been, both good and bad, I'm going to have to even this out and give them a 3. Tell you what, Steppenwolf very nearly killed it. Okay, story. Straight out the gate, I am going to say that this movie requires you to watch at least Batman vs. Superman beforehand. And the story is fairly straightforward. You have an intergalactic threat attacking Earth. Steppenwolf is coming to Earth because he wants to reclaim the mother boxes and have another shot at conquering Earth. He was defeated last time by the combined forces of the planet, and this time he's going to do it a little differently and just surgically strike and then wipe the whole place. To be honest, they really don't go into that much. They just mentioned a few times, oh, there's a war coming, got to save everyone. And then they're off collecting. There's not a lot of build on that. I'm not sure if it matters, but it was just noticeable. And from there, it's a fairly standard assemble the team movie. You got to get them all together. No one really gets along. They have a couple of tryouts. They have a couple of setbacks. They have a couple of minor victories. It's one of those tumultuous build up to the third act finale style movies. In the middle of this, you've got the resolution of BVS, and they bring Superman back to life. Smack bang, around about midway in the movie. And they kind of come to the decision to raise him really fast. Yes, I know. They had to pack a lot into this movie. They only had so much time to do it. I understand that. I know why, or at least can appreciate why they made the choices they did. It's just some of them stood out a fair bit. So yeah, anyway, Superman's back. Yay! And he's definitely unhappy about this, which is not a good thing. That part of the story delivers an incredibly iconic and very excellent superhero moment. It was probably my favorite part of the whole movie. Actually, the movie pretty much peaked for me right there, and everything else was just kind of downhill after that. Anyway, the newly formed league track Steppenwolf back to somewhere in Russia, where he's taken over a big power plant. Looks like an old nuclear reactor. Justice League turn up and beat him down, beat him up, and save the planet. Oh, and I mean, they really beat him up. This is what I meant by, is he really a league level villain? And the answer is no. No, he is not. Yeah, alright, he gives it out a fair bit too. He hurts him a bit. But when it comes down to it, when Superman turns up, it's just game over. So that's pretty much the story. And honestly, there's very little to it. Most of the story is wrapped around building the team, assembling the league to fight a really rather inconsequential villain. I think you could probably pin a lot of the story problems on the two directors. You've got the director from Man of Steel and BVS, and the director from The Avengers and Buffy. And they kind of don't mesh. Their styles don't go together so well. And you can pick it every now and then. You can pinpoint the scenes where the directors were different. And it feels it. It really does get in the way of an already flimsy kind of story. And before you all get really mad, look, most of these team up origin stories are pretty weak. They are quite unstable ground when it really comes down to it. So there's nothing really different here. It's just that it's much more noticeable this time. Good news, though, is with having such a dismissible and ignorable villain, you get more time to focus on the heroes. And that's where most of the story works really well. Watching the heroes get along or not get along and come together to combat a threat. A threat that you don't care about, but that's not what you're interested in. It's the people, it's the team. So as a team story, I quite enjoyed it. As a team fighting a villain story, whatever. Seen it before, seen it done better. Okay. I'll be giving story a 2.75. And that's because I have seen the Justice League done so much better than this. I've got so many animated episodes of Justice League where the story is tight, on point, engrossing, amazing, and 45 minutes long. This did them no favors, and it's disappointing to see the tentpole movie, the big one from DC, land like this. And to be absolutely clear, I really wanted this to go well. I really wanted this to be DC's Avengers equivalent. And it wasn't. Look and feel. Here's where things pick up nicely. Okay, to begin with, I love the suits. I really enjoyed about 90%, 80%. I really enjoyed about 75% of all the characters' suits and outfits. Superman looks great. Love him in his suit. And out of his suit, when he's standing around in his jeans, an incredibly buff Henry Cavill, that's an intimidating guy. That worked well. Flash's suit, kind of silly, but it does look like it was made by a dude who doesn't know any better. It looks like a genius with spare parts lying around. And all the special effects around him, the lightning arcs, the Speed Force, that I liked. I really did like the way they used Flash. Wonder Woman, she's always cool. I'm always happy to see her on screen. Gal Gadot plays it perfectly and the outfit looked just as good. Aquaman's outfit, when he was bothering to wear one, it looked okay. It wasn't anything special. It was an outfit. I don't know. The Batman, he kept bouncing between looking like an old dude in a padded out muscle suit and a really buff guy in a tight suit. I didn't mind him. I didn't mind his stuff. I didn't mind his gear. I liked the general look and feel of Batman. Apart from that Nightcrawler thing, that stupid tank, I didn't like that tank at all. Ridiculous looking tank. Yeah. Cyborg. Cyborg kept switching between really cool and very, very not cool. One moment he's a powerful looking cyborg warrior. The next moment he's a scrunched up ball of tinfoil. Looked like he'd been hanging out with Megatron. He kept just switching between the good and the bad. It was annoying. Speaking of annoying, Steppenwolf. What was that? Tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't $300 million worth. His chin claw, glossy skin, and the kind of weird looking helmet. He just looked out of place. He constantly looked out of place. I kept being annoyed every time they did a close up on the dude. So please don't. Can we not do that? Let's just have you in the background and you can do your stupid speeches back there and talk to Mother as much as you like, but just no more close-ups, please. I don't like it. On the whole, though, the special effects held up really quite well all through the movie until you get to the final act. What was going on there? Dead set. One, everything's so orange. Yay, orange. That seems to be like a signature for the end of any DC movie. Just gotta be orange. And then the CGI wormy things are popping out of the ground chasing people. They were not well done. They didn't even look like a final render. What was that? The parademons. You know what? Okay, didn't mind them. For your CGI mooks to get killed a lot, they were pretty good. They're your minion cannon fodder. And they were pretty nifty minion cannon fodder. In fact, they look better than Steppenwolf most of the time. Cyborg looked better than Steppenwolf. The sound effects and the Foley were pretty much on point. They worked nicely. They gave you a lot of cues and hints as to what was happening sometimes before it happened. And they blended everything very nicely. And now for a little rant about one thing that's irritated me since Batman vs. Superman. Gotham City is not a suburb of Metropolis. They are not divided by a river. They are not next to each other. They are very far apart. They are not neighboring halves of a town. That's just so annoying. But look and feel on the whole, and ignoring my little rant about the distance between Gotham and Metropolis, I think it wasn't that bad at all. It looked pretty nifty, especially that scene in the middle. That was pretty amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and give look and feel a 3.25. Script and dialogue. Okay, so when all the heroes are talking to each other, that's kind of cool. Every now and then it felt like the animated series. It made itself fairly clear in what it was setting out to do. You didn't have to guess too much. Most of the dialogue made a fair bit of sense. Having said that, every now and then they make some massive leaps in logic, and the story will leap ahead by a whole missing scene. I'm pretty sure, given an extra 20 minutes, and this movie would make a lot more sense. However, on the positive side of things, all the character dialogue seemed to be pretty much in character. There were no real surprises there. When Superman's back and he's talking and carrying on and stuff, it sounds like something Superman would say. It sounds like something out of nearly any other Superman movie. Maybe apart from Man of Steel, that was a very different beast. Aquaman could have said it any way he wanted because no one cared about Aquaman before now anyway. This is a complete rebooting of the character and everyone loved him. So he gets a golden pass, really. Steppenwolf talked to himself and to his mother, and I don't care about that character. Could we please stop bringing him up? But anyway, we're just going to push all that to one side, and now we're going to talk about the action of the movie, which is actiony. There's punching, kicking, shooting, running, dodging, falling, fighting, punching, and punching, and punching, and punching. Yeah, it's great. Cool. Yay, hero movie. Woo, go. Don't care about that either, really. I want to talk about when they raise Superman and he goes bad. Just for a little bit. He's the villain Superman. And that was cool. That was the best part of the movie. That's the best part of nearly any movie I've seen in quite some time. I liked that. The look on his face, the way he behaved, the way the rest of the characters are at first real happy to see him. And then it's dawning on them that, oh, this isn't good. And then it all goes delightfully bad from there. And they have zero chance. It is great. It shows you how scary Superman, when he's lost control, if he doesn't have this good nature running the show, oh, he's a beast. He's a threat. He really was a dangerous, intimidating, scary presence. And I loved it. And then the very best moment of the whole movie, where you just see Superman's eye tracking Flash as he's running around. And Flash is coming to realize that he's in a lot of trouble now. It was superb. And unfortunately for me, it never recovered from that point. That movie peaked, as I said before. That was a high point. Everything after that was kind of like, a not so impressive dessert. So the score for script and dialogue, this is a little trickier. Because that one spectacular sequence can't carry the whole movie. Not to mention that when the dialogue is on point, when it's really quite good, it then just highlights the really bad. So you take the real negative and you mix it with the really good. You're going to end up with a 3.25 again, I think. Fun factor, as a regular standard movie, did I enjoy myself? Yeah, that wasn't bad. I had some fun. I had some incredible fun, and then I had a bit of a yawn. But generally, on the whole, I enjoyed myself when I watched this movie. I've enjoyed myself more when I've watched it with other people who just enjoyed the movie, and as a result, I was enjoying the movie as a movie. On the other hand, as a DC Comics movie, this wasn't the best. Again, I can show you a whole season worth of animated Justice League stuff better than this. It's one of those cases where I think my own expectations, or how high I'd set them, ruined my own movie experience. And that's unfortunate. That's what can happen As I said at the very beginning and in my short talk, that is what can happen when you know too much about the subject matter. So fun factor, I'm afraid I'll be giving this a reluctant 2.75. I had an okay time when I was expecting and wanting to have a great time. Yeah. So, final score. You add all these together and you come out dead even, good, on a 15. I'll admit I'm happy with that. I was a little worried actually as I was doing this that we're going to end up in the 14s. Yeah, it's a tricky thing to review these movies because you want to give them really high because you love the material and you love what it represents, and it's a comic book movie and I love my comic books and I love my movies and this is great. And at the same time you want to put it right down the bottom because they made a mess out of something that should have been a home run. So that's my review of the Justice League. What did you think? Have you seen this movie? Did it disappoint? Did it exceed expectations? Or was it just the cold porridge of meh? Anyhow, thanks for watching. I hope you've had a good time. As always, like and subscribe, share my review around, and of course, and most importantly, hope you're having a great week and that you find some time to go and watch a movie.